definitely want to talk about NIL, man. It shook up, college sports, as a lot of people knew it. Now that we've had NIL for 3 years about now, like 2 or 3, has it done the job that people wanted it to when it was being introduced? I feel like everybody can agree that collegiate athletes and student athletes should be compensated for money that other people are making off of their name, image, or likeness.
Yeah.
But how has that affected the landscape of college sports from the standpoint of now, not only, it's not just so much they get revenue from jerseys the school is selling or ticket revenue. Now it's, I can actually go get a brand deal.
Yeah.
I can actually, it's sponsorships. It's all these different things that's now putting, I don't think the issue was ever putting money into the hands of college athletes or student athletes, but now it's the amount of money that some of them have the potential to bring in. And that money does change things. So I don't know if that was a misconception, but money can change the landscape. But what have been your thoughts as a former collegiate athlete and still being around some and still being good, because you are somewhat involved or affiliated with some NIL things.
Yeah.
But, how do you feel like it's affected the landscape up to this point?
I think it's helped it, man. I think it's gotten people off their tail.
Yeah.
And like, hey, in order to compete in this day and age, you got to have a bag, like for it to be dispersed to your team.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, it just is what it is, because it does not make any sense for me to be a top talent to come to your school for free when you about to have my jersey in this like store. You about to have me on these tickets. And I was crunk too. I may have had them tickets out of my face all on them tickets. I thought it was dope.
Right.
But knowing what I know now, it's like, bro, like we was selling out the stadium too.
Yeah.
So for my face to be on 70,000 tickets, not saying that particular moment I needed to make like $1 for each ticket that was sold, but I needed to get some. I'm leaving here with some.
I got to.
Yeah. So, I mean, that to me is where it's like, that's really where it, hey, man, it's not, the crazy part is not everybody's making a bag.
That's true. That's also very true.
Yeah. Like, just like any pro team, everybody on that team is not getting like these millions of dollars.
Max contract, stuff like that.
There's a lot of people, majority, getting league minimum.
Yeah.
Like there's just a minimum that they can pay you, and that's what the majority of these players are actually making. Yeah. And so, granted, it's a good amount, but you just see the people who sign like, whatever $100 million deal. You're like, man, all these players, how are they getting all this money? And it's like, it's really not that.
It ain't that. It's a lot of people making much less than that, like you said. And no, you made a great point, because there are, when you talk about top prospects and like top collegiate players, yes, they are the ones that have the deals that you might get into, I mean, there are some collegiate athletes through NIL that's making a serious bag.
Absolutely.
But it's a lot of players that ain't making a bag at all, in college. But I don't think that itself is so much of an issue. But I do wonder, and I do want to ask, do you feel like that you've seen any detriment to the landscape of college sports from NIL, and what have some of those things been, if you've seen it?
Yeah, I guess you could say that, but I just don't look at it as a detriment, because you're gonna have people out here who don't know how to move, like how to move in a certain space. But you had that beforehand. You had people who were gonna get kicked off a team, whether money was involved or not.
Right.
Like you already had the bad apples on teams all across the country. Yeah. I mean, they literally report on it every year.
Yeah.
Which story, who's going to be the person to really mess it up. And you just don't want that to be shined on your team.
Right.
Really, but it does happen. Like, and it's consistent, because people aren't perfect, bro. Like, it's just like any other employer and, you know, employee situation. There's people who quit. There's people who transfer and go to another team or to another job. Like, and some people are like, no, I'm going to thrive in this space. I'm going to thrive at my job here.
Yeah.
So it's to me, it's like the fact that money is involved at all didn't like become a detriment to the game. It was just like, okay, now how do you navigate this? Now that this is another element of this, how do you actually navigate it within the confines of like NCAA, state law, or, you know, there's no federal legislation really around it, but it's like, how do you navigate it? And that's the, you know, different for different states. But for the most part, it's just like once you figure it out, once you see what the state says, once you see what the school says, it's like, oh, okay. Like, you know, yeah, I would always advise, you know, get some advice from an attorney. I'm not an attorney. You know, I am in law school. This is no legal advice, okay? I'm not giving disclaimer. This is no legal advice on this podcast. So, but, you know, understanding, again, how, like, the business of it works, because a coach is not going to come here, no contract in place. Oh, you just want me to go off just your word. Like,
Yeah, nah.
folks got kids. The players got kids, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
they trying to take care of their family, too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they want to know, okay, well, what is it? Like, what does this look like if I were to come here? Not just money,
Right.
but it is an element. Like, why would you not ask that?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it makes zero. You wouldn't go to a job and not ever ask, what am I going to make?
It's like, why leave? I'm never going to leave something on the table.
It makes
The
zero
worst they
sense.
can say is there's nothing on the table.
That's it. And it's like, okay, thank you for letting me know. Like, I just want to know what the opportunities look like.
Yeah.
Because you can't just guarantee me, hey, here's all blah, 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 blah. But you can show, like, this is what it's looked like.
Yeah.
Man, that is so simple to answer because you don't have to go give all the details. Like, some people, I guess, will be like, no, I need to know exactly what. And I think those are the challenges that you then have to come across. But that's not everybody.
Right.
You know, so at some point, it's not going to be perfect. And if you got to do work now, like, or extra work because the landscape is changing, do the work.
Yeah.
That's what you get paid for. So you got to do that because they got to do it. They got to add an extra element because that's the thing people sleep on is these players aren't just randomly getting paid. Like, now they got all that other stuff we was talking about, what they got the commitments for. Yeah. Now you got NIL commitments because in order to get the money, you got to do something for it.
Something got to be here.
You got to be,
shoot this, got to do this. Yeah.
Exactly. And then we're talking about building brands. Building a brand is not just, oh, I just use the pictures that the school just gives me from time to time. Because everybody knows that you're a football player or a basketball player or a track star or whatever. What else do you do? Yeah, like, what is your brand? Yeah, who are you?
Yeah.
And a lot of players don't know how to do that yet. And that's where I've tried to come in as well and just be like, I mean, I just start asking the question, like, what do you want this to look like?
Yeah.
That's really, it's for you to determine, like, what do you want when you go home and kick it and it's just you or just you and your family? Like, what do you do? Yeah. And I think that's the best way of starting is like, what are you good at? What do you do when nobody's paying attention that you could just do all day? Yeah. Some people, you get great artists, but they don't ever want to draw around folks. Like,
right. Yeah.
Don't draw around folks. Draw in a room with just your camera and just record you drawing. Nobody even has to see it until it's all done and you done did the little speed up process or something. Yeah. And then just post it. You'll be surprised how many people is like, oh, this dude really can draw.
Yeah. We've seen it. Yeah.
Like, so, I don't know. It's just, I just try to help them understand that. But there are like there's pros and cons to everything. Right. So but I think there's a lot more pros than there are cons.
I'd agree. And that's actually a great point because I think for the athletes, for the collegiate athletes that will actually experience at the pro level needing that balance, it is great practice to understand in college. Like, take as much as you can, take the politics out of it. Yeah. And okay, if I'm starting building my brand now, if I take 3 to 4 years to really try to start the process of mastering how to build my brand as an athlete, and I know I'm going to be pro one day, and I know there's a shot at me having a legit career, by the time you go pro now, yes, as a rookie in any sport, you're gonna have your challenges and your hurdles, but when it comes to all the things you're gonna have to do now as a professional athlete, the way you're gonna have to move, you kind of have that practice because you can't miss that commitment to that brand deal because now you don't got that brand deal. The same way when you're a professional athlete, if you get any brand deals there, it's going to be the exact same thing. And you're going to be dealing with the same environments of where you got to be here. You may have to deal with people who are going to be doing this, that, and the third, but you got to remain professional because the spotlight's going to be on you. So